October the 27th. We're back for the second half of the semester. I just welcome my class. We all had some very interesting times over the break. Hope you guys had time to also relax and unwind a bit or decompress, as we say, because now we're going to enter the second half of the semester. Should be no different than the first half. It's just kind of more like, the same amount of workload, I guess. You should be better equipped for it because the first time you do this, it's a little hard to adjust. Now that you have, it just happens a little easier from what I find talking to my students and myself included, teaching this stuff over and over again. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen now. We're going to explain the next part of the module. Alrighty, and I did release some files for you guys. So if you go ahead and look at the actual our list here, the Illustrator module is done. I hope you guys learned a lot from the Illustrator segment. Illustrator is a great tool. I wish I could show you another 7 weeks of Illustrator, but to be honest with you, a lot of this stuff I've taught you already is spread out throughout the whole entire semester in the graphic design program. I just took the best of the bits of information to share with you and to have you deliver some really good work as you have, not just the logo branding design. The UI kit is a very, very important module or part of the Illustrator part. Felicia reached out to me and asked me if I can share some feedback on how am I delivering that project to you guys, the assignment. And he was quite happy and intrigued with the way it was being delivered and the way you guys are going to be including it in his part as well. So it's a really good collaborative tool with building a UI kit in one program and integrating it with the next. I remember we did touch upon the Figma part and the Adobe XD. SVG files is the way to go. Just remember that. It's one of the videos that we recorded. So going forward, I mean, Illustrator is a great, development tool or design tool, I should say, and to lead to your development parts in your other softwares and stuff. All right, this is the main projects. I'm going to release this one as well. Your application splash banner is almost done. I will get you your feedback very soon. That's the last project you did in the Illustrator segment. The next one for the Photoshop is the web page design prototype project. Yes, you are going to design a website in Photoshop from like a visual wireframe point of view, which will then be integrated into many different sectors. So you can actually export the website for HTML. You can export elements in CSS. More importantly, you can export the assets for the development of the website and many other platforms. We just talked about WordPress and other ones that you can incorporate this source imagery from. And Photoshop is a great way to get that all set up, which we're going to get into a little later. This is the Photoshop module. You do have two Photoshop assignments. The first one is the social media ad assignment. This one alone packs a lot of important meaning to the not just the delivery, but the importance of knowing how to do this these days. I always get these promotional marketing emails and videos and people promoting their meta social media marketing strategies and stuff. It's funny because it all revolves around this little assignment right here. So I'm very happy to give this to you. You're going to be able to create your own social media ad and deploy it in many different social media platforms. One is Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can do even the TikToks with the videos and stuff. You can do lots of cool stuff with this social media ad assignment. It'll give you a lot of knowledge and power in terms of designing these things. The second one is going to be the motion design for web. You're going to produce a basic animation. So yes, you're going to learn how to do the motion tween the elements in Photoshop. Not only that, you can also produce a video. So we're going to do a little bit of video and animation integration in Photoshop. All right. And this is all geared towards, the web development and design program that you sign up for. So after the Photoshop assignments, I'm going to release this one to you later. First, it's this one here. We'll talk about it afterwards. This is the introduction to Photoshop. So I did release some lesson files for you to look at and some digital NFT abstract design. We're going to collaborate this as we normally do in some of our previous classes. You're going to upload your first, we call it the NFT. That was huge a few years ago. A lot of people made money. A lot of people lost money with with these NFT, I guess, digital virtual currency that was used on the internet. It was like a crypto-based type of market where a lot of artwork was sold for a ridiculous amount of money. So we're gonna have some fun with that and create our own little NFTs. And hey, who knows? There might be some there's still some NFTs running around worth a lot of money. So if you guys want to make your own NFTs, you can. But it's a nice little creative exercise for us to create, and you're gonna learn some Photoshop basics along the way. Okay, so these are the two files we're gonna introduce today. Next week, we'll start with a Facebook ad. When I say next week, I mean probably Wednesday. I'm gonna jump on this a little earlier just to get you guys. I like to give you a head start. So we're gonna do probably these two this week, and then we'll just cruise along after for the rest of the semester. We'll do the Mondays and Wednesdays and stuff normally with the labs and classes. Hopefully, we won't have another Monday makeup class to do because that throws a curveball sometimes and it compresses our time. But nonetheless, we make up for it, so we're all good. All right, so go ahead and download this file right now, the lesson files. It's called selections.zip. Now, selections is the foundation of Photoshop. So without selections, or channels or even layers. Layers came a lot after. Photoshop wouldn't be the program it is today, okay? Because a lot of software out there can do a lot of different things, like photo correction. Now you can do the stuff with AI and everything else. But selections is the key component of Adobe Photoshop and its creative montage capabilities. So that's the best way to fundamentally understand the program and to learn the basics from the ground up is learning selections. This is why I prepared this file for you. So just download this zip file here and we're going to get started with that. This is what we're going to collab with later. We're going to click on this and we're going to upload our own NFT design. Oh, look, there's a sneak peek for you. That's exactly what we're going to create. This abstract creative design, all from scratch. No images, nothing. This will teach you how to do basic fills, strokes, selections, transformations, filters, a lot of the cool wow stuff you learn in Photoshop. So we're going to embark on this a little later. All right, so let's go ahead and, well, first let me see if you guys have Photoshop. So making sure you have the Photoshop application installed. And to do that, basically, if you go to your applications, your Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, you download Adobe Photoshop. 2025 is the latest version, of course. So simply open that, and you should get Photoshop up and running the way you see it right now. Okay. I did a lot of image batching last night, with some products I've been working on this website. I'm gonna share that with you guys another time. But it's just amazing how Photoshop, how its capabilities of, speeding up my workflow for as far as production's concerned. So I had to take like 180 images and resize them all equally at one time. So I did like what's called batching. There's a lot of advanced capabilities I'm going to teach you with Photoshop. So it's not just design, it's also production work as well. All right, let's go back to my window here. So how many of you have Photoshop installed and ready to go? Let me see. Because I forgot to ask you that important question. We need the tools in order to work with the software or the material. So everyone has Photoshop, right? Perfect. All right. Alejandra, I didn't see your hand go up. And Isaac, do you guys have Photoshop as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Isaac, you're good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So we all got the software. Excellent. So let's open it up. And before we open it up, let's open up this zip file here, just extracting the contents of the zip folder. You'll have the selections folder show up, and you'll have 4 lessons in there. Okay. And the 4 lessons are going to be If we don't finish them all today, we're gonna probably, uh, wrap it up on Wednesday in person. Okay, but this is how we're gonna start this whole thing. I think this is also for this week actually. So this one has. I like how these folders are set up, guys, because it has the exercise file and it has a PDF. The PDF have the written instructions on step by step how to do things. So it's kind of cool how I put this thing together. Actually, it was put by somebody else. I'm just kind of using the same material that was passed on to me. This was the cutouts part. You have two images, and they're both Photoshop documents. How do I know? Because I'm looking at the extension. It has .psd, and this is the PDF that has the steps on how to complete the exercise. Same as lesson number 3. You have the same kind of PDF, and you have the image to work with. And lesson 4, this is how you're gonna be able to do some CSI work and put this image back together for me. Okay, so this is kind of cool how we're gonna do all that. Just to kind of see where this is the Facebook, and then we get into the website stuff. Perfect. All right. So let's get started, guys. Open up Photoshop. First, we're going to start the fundamentals. Okay. And the fundamentals is learning the very basics core of Photoshop and how it works. So let's first understand what Photoshop does. Photoshop is a digital imaging program. It's the most powerful one in the planet. Okay. There's a lot of good programs out there, but Photoshop is Photoshop. Even earned its ranks with the vocabulary. I think it in the English or the Webster Dictionary they added the word Photoshop in there. It's used pretty much every day as a common word, like things like "Did you Photoshop that?" or "That's Photoshopped." Okay, so it's been around for over, I would say, over 3 decades for sure. My understanding of Photoshop spans over 2 decades, if not more. Okay, so this is my go-to software. Illustrator, Photoshop, there's other ones, of course, that we use, but this is like, call it the bread and butter of all the graphic designers out there. Not just graphic design, because if you open up a new file in Photoshop, it'll give you all the different industries that Photoshop is used for. Photographers, okay, print and packaging, art and illustration, web design and development, mobile app and design and development. So web and mobile, that's the two, I guess, categories that can relate to you, obviously. Film and video. So if you do like movie credits, short video edits, and film and video, that's also used. So you can see a lot of creative industries are integrated from creating just a new document in Photoshop. So you can actually pick the industry that you're in and start off with a file. If we're going to create a website, we click on the web category and we pick like a web size to start with. There's the most common, there's the large, there's the medium, and there's the minimum as well. Okay, this used to be back like maybe 20 years ago. 1084 by 768, maybe even more. I mean, less, I mean, about 10 years ago. And before that was, boy, 800 by 600, 640, 480. That was the sizes we used before we got into the, HD. Now we got like 2K, 4K, more sizes to work with. We're in the thousands of pixels, as you know. Okay. Now, to start our exercise, you can pick any, I guess we'll start with the most common size here under web, most common. However, what I want you to do is adjust the size on the right. So instead of 1366, I want you to make this 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels. Why am I doing 1080 by 1080? Because that's an actual Facebook ad or Instagram ad size that Meta wants you to upload. That's the exact dimensions. I've uploaded ads different sizes or similar to that size. This still worked. But if you want to hit it bang on, this is the size you want to go with, 1080 by 1080 pixels. Now, I suggest you turn off the artboard, okay? Because if you leave it on, it means you're going to be working with the boundaries and edges of the artboard, like something like Illustrator, and it might complicate the result, and it gives you an extra type of a layer, a simulation that it's not necessary. So I would just suggest you turn it off unless you use multiple artboards. We're not going to use multiple artboards until a lot later. So I'm strongly going to be adamant about this and ask you to turn it off, okay? Just to kind of lessen the confusion as you're learning the software. Resolution is a key factor as well in Photoshop, as we have to assume what exactly are we building. Most things you build for the monitor, for the screen, it usually stays at 72 dots per inch. That's been the standard for the past 30 years. Now, if you want to go a little higher, like maybe 150, the intent for that is because you want to be able to print this graphic on a printer, and you're increasing more pixels per inch. And that's why you add more depth and resolution quality. Professionals even use 300 dots per inch for images to get the high res quality that you want. However, for websites, on-screen presentations, television, mobile, video, everything is done on 72. So because we're in this industry here, we're not worried about printing stuff. We're going to stick with 72 DPI. Again, social media is a screen resolution, so it'll match the metaverse with 72 DPI. RGB color mode is, again, the screen mode, red, green, blue. The combination of those three spectrums give you millions of colors. If you're going to have something for print, you would go to CMYK, but we're not going to concern ourselves about printers. We're going to stick with the RGB resolution, and we're going to change the background color to any color or pick a color of your choice by simply clicking on this box here. We're going to stick with the traditional white background. We're going to leave this as is. The only thing I ask you to change is 1080, and everything else is left alone. Let's hit the create button, and this is what we have. Just like the previous software, I want to make sure everybody is on point and we all have the same interface. So I'm going to ask all of you to go to the window menu, go to workspace, and make sure you're all on Essentials default. If you're not, I'm going to reset mine, as you should reset yours. Reset Essentials. It might look something like this. Okay. The next thing I want you to do is, well, have the rulers visible here. So maybe you probably don't have the rulers. I'm pressing Command or Control R. A lot of the Photoshop shortcuts are very similar to the Illustrator shortcuts. Not all, but a lot of them are, especially the interface shortcuts. Same thing goes with these tools here. I don't like how this is displayed on the bottom, so I would click on this little fast forward button, I call it, on the top right left corner to expand this to 2 columns. This is a lot easier to communicate and to work with. Okay, so please have this set up as 2 columns. Have your application bar up here, which has the properties. You have layers, properties, adjustments, libraries all here. I'm going to double click on this tab just to minimize its appearance. This will maximize my layer space, okay? Then up here you have your color swatches, gradients, and patterns and stuff. So I'm going to keep this with maybe swatches for now, or just color. And even that I can minimize sometimes if I feel like it, okay? This is how the interface works, guys. Very similar to the Illustrator one that we've learned previously. So all you have to do is kind of just get familiar with it and you'll have no problems. One thing to remember here, layers is the most fundamental and important aspect of the interface. So make sure this is clearly visible. What I mean by that is you don't want to have this little space here for layers. You can end up with like 10 or 20 layers at some point, and you don't want to scroll through this little minimal space here. So you want to maximize this as much as possible, okay? Like you can move these up and down, but I prefer you just double click to collapse them if needed, okay? So that's how the layer interface works. I'm just gonna move it all the way up like that. All right. Any questions before I get started? I want to make sure all of you are comfortable. You're getting your interface ready. The document is set up. Here I have 100%, making sure you all have the same thing, 100%. If I zoom in with Command or Control Plus, I'm at 200%, 300%, 400%. I'm keep zooming in, and I'm going to zoom out with pressing Control minus. For those of you that have a Mac, it's Command minus. So you zoom in, zoom out that way. The space bar always gives you the hand to move it around. Space bar. Okay. The default tool is the move tool. So you should always kind of pay attention to that tool here. I'm going to explain to you the fundamental tools right now. A lot of them have a little tutorial. So if you roll over the mouse long enough, it'll give you a little video to play. And then you can kind of see what this thing looks like. Okay, this might be a little smaller here. See here. All right. So just give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Give me 1 second here. I think my thing froze for 1 second. I think it's okay now. Any questions, everyone? We're good? Okay. All right, so the first thing is we're going to start with the selections, like I explained earlier. So what I need you to do is look over here where the mouse cursor is. This is the move tool. This is your fundamental tool for moving everything around your artboards and stuff. To make the selections, you have to go one tool to the right, and you have the rectangular marquee tool and the infamous elliptical marquee tool. The single row and single column marquee tools are not used or popular, so we'll just ignore those for now. But let's start with this one here first. What I want you to do is just make a rectangular selection like this one. And simply click away to deselect it. Repeat this process 5 times. Select, click away, select, click away. I want you to mentally learn the method of selecting something. It's different than Illustrator. When we clicked on Illustrator is an object-oriented software. It's vector-based. So for Illustrator, we just clicked on the shape and we resized it, moved it, and whatever. Here, we're not doing that. Here, we're selecting pixels. We're selecting a range of pixels. So this is not an object-oriented program. It's an imaging software. You can move layers like objects later, but for now, because we have a white canvas, there's nothing to move yet, okay? So images, for example, are composed of pixels. So it's a different approach and a different methodology with using the software. So doing this will teach you how to just make selections. Now watch what happens if you move the cursor inside the selection. You get to move the selection. You see that? You're moving the selection. So if you click away from the selection, you deselect the selection. If you click inside the selection, you get to move the selection. Please don't confuse this move tool. Don't confuse this tool with moving it, because if you move it, you're going to extract the selection. So don't switch tools to move the selection. Stay in the selection tool just to move the selection, okay? Because if I was to do it, I'm going to purposely do this. I'm going to switch this to black and white, and I'm going to use the move tool. I'm going to move it here. It usually extracts it, but I don't know why I didn't do it right now. Maybe because I did it too soon. Anyways, press D for default. Keep this black and white. This is your foreground color. It's black. The background color is white. There's no strokes or outlines in Photoshop, only if you apply them manually through another form, okay? So for right now, you have a foreground and a background color. So you have 2 fill colors. And then you have the selection tool like this, okay? So now that we got more familiar with selections, what I need you to do is make a selection like this. Hold the Shift key and make additional selections. As I'm doing that, I'm growing the selection to expand in different areas. So I'm basically creating this abstract type of freeform design using my shift or expand selection tool. Okay, like that. If you hold Option Option will give you the subtract button, which is the minus. So Option will take out selections, you see? So Option is your subtracting tool, while Shift is your addition tool. So you want to add or subtract a selection, okay? I'm just doing this cookie cutter type of design. Be careful not to click on the outside because it'll disappear. You're going to click on the inside to move the selection. If you do decide to deselect it, it'll be gone. To bring it back, you can go edit, undo, deselect, because deselect is a command. So if you just undo that, it'll bring the selection back. And yes, you do have multiple undos and redos, just like we do in Illustrator. You do have them in Photoshop. Okay. All right. Excellent. So now that we made some basic selections here, and we kind of combine them in this interesting form, we're going to go to Edit and go Fill. Just like the file menu in Photoshop does save, export, open, right? The main functions of most programs. Edit does the similar stuff like copy, paste, fill, stroke, all that stuff. So edit, fill, the selection is how we do that. Edit, fill. And then we can pick, instead of content aware, we'll get into another time. We're going to go with foreground color or background color, or just pick a different color to begin with. So I'm going to click on the tab where it says color, and that'll open up my color picker, and I can pick any color of my choice here, or I can move the hue slider from the bottom up, the vertical slider on the right, and I can pick a different color going forward like this, okay? And then when I do pick a color, I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK again, and that's going to give me a normal fill with 100% opacity, which you can also control as the blend mode is given from the fill menu. Another part we're going to get into another time. For now, we're going to keep it simple. So just pick the color. I picked this color here, this purpley violet color. Click OK, and that color is going to apply itself. If I picked the foreground or the background color, it would have been this white or this black that you see here. You can then just deselect it for now. Looks like some kind of a bitmap artwork for now. We're going to add to this with the elliptical marquee selection tool. This is another tool that we're going to use. We're going to hold, well, if you don't hold shift, you're going to draw an elliptical shape like this one, right? And if you click away again, just practice some selections, deselect, move inside, move the selection, deselect the selection, get used to that. Get the brain to understand the basic functions of Photoshop selection methods, okay? And then when you're ready, I want you to hold shift and just make an elliptical selection like this one. Oh, I got a feather going on here. My apologies. Just ignore this part. Let me do this again. So hold shift, make a selection, hold shift again. The second time you hold shift, it won't constrain it. It'll just make another selection, okay? It doesn't matter. We're just doing this free form. So just make a bunch of circles basically on your artboard. Spread them out wherever you see fit. So I made like, I don't know, 10 circles, okay? I'm going to go to Edit Fill again. Go to Color, click on Color, and then click on it again to open up the color box here. I'm going to pick something like maybe the opposite color on the color wheel here, like a nice green. So there's my green circles with my violet rectangular design in the background, and the white background is the background. So I did this all from scratch using basic selection and fill methods. And I've been using very simple stuff like rectangular and elliptical marquee tools. And now you know how they work. With the more advanced selection tools come these ones down here. You have the object selection tool. You got the quick selection tool, which is more like for image compositing and stuff. And I'm going to show you those a little later. You have the magic wand, which used to be its predecessors. So this is like the original tool. Before these existed, it was all about this guy right here, the magic wand. So I want you to click on the magic wand. Okay. By the way, you have the other lasso, and the other freeform selection tools on the left. So those are all your selection tools, right? These four right here, these are your selection tools. Well, I don't count this one as a selection tool, but let's say these three, one, two, three, those are your main selection tools. You're going to click on the magic wand, okay? And you're going to go ahead and click on this little green circle, or click on the, well, I think I have contiguous turn off by accident. If you click on one circle at a time, notice how it picks up that color. So a magic wand picks up pixels by threshold. So it sees the green pixels and it differentiates the white and the purple color and only selects the green. If you click on the purple, it does the same thing. It selects the purple and nothing else. If you click on the white, it selects the white background and nothing else. If I want to change my background color to black, I'm clicking this white background. Okay, I can go to Edit Fill. And this time I'll go to foreground color or background color instead of color. I want to show you the difference. So foreground color is the black, background color is the white. So I'm going to click on the foreground color, which is going to give me an automatic black. Not all the time, depending on what color this is. If this was blue, it'll give me a blue color. Because it's black, it's going to give me a black color because it's the foreground color. I'm going to click OK and just deselect it like that. Notice how I left the little white spots in there that were deselected. Okay, so now we got the fundamentals of filling colors and making basic selections and selecting selections with the magic wand. You can click on this little white and this little purple, this little green. But how do you select more than one thing? Well, if you hold Shift, I get to select this circle, this circle, this circle, and that circle, for example. And then I can go to Edit and fill them a different color, right? So just to not to be too repetitive now, I'm going to show you a different way that you can use the more like a classic traditional fill method is using the paint bucket. Paint bucket is the original method that most paint programs use to fill colors, and it works by proximity. So if I have, let's use the swatches, for example. If I have this yellow color selected here, this yellow, when I select the yellow, notice how yellow became my foreground color. And if I click on this little white square here, or this trapezoid or whatever object, I'm going to fill that yellow like that because the foreground color corresponds with my paint bucket. If I click on a different color, like this fuchsia color here, this bright pink, if I do the same thing, click on this little white circle, I'm going to do the same thing. If I do the same thing over here and over here, it'll do the same things. Going back to the yellow. And maybe I'll do some blue. And maybe I'm just going to change one more color here, maybe an orange or two. So here I have multiple colors that I applied by using various techniques, and a lot of the last part was using just like the paint bucket tool, a very traditional paint tool for a paint program. Photoshop was originally called a paint program, a less fancier way than saying digital imaging software. It's a paint program. You paint with it, right? You paint because you have brushes, paint buckets, selections. That's what you do when you paint, okay? And a digital imaging program like Illustrator is called a drawing program. You draw in Illustrator, like with the pen tool. We drew the Android logo. We drew the Apple logo. We drew things in Illustrator. We traced things. We created things by drawing them. And then we add advanced fills and things like that. In Photoshop, you paint things. Okay, so we're painting this like artists using a digital environment such as this one. Okay, so that's how you can categorize the two and separate them. So this is basically the fundamentals, guys. Now let me just take it to the next level now with again, if I want to paint something, I go with the paint bucket. Let's say I want this background orange. I just click on the background. That's hurting my eyes, so I'm just gonna press Command Z, undo. But that's the stuff you can do by clicking on colors and painting, filling things. Any questions so far? I'm going to pause for a second and turn my attention to you, see if you guys have any questions so far. Everyone's good? Okay. I think we'll have the whole roster here. Almost everybody. I think Mariana couldn't join us today, but that's fine. I'm recording the session, so we're gonna watch it later. That goes for all of you. Okay, no questions, so I'm gonna continue on. And if you are kind of struggling keeping up, because I know it's early on a Monday morning, just watch me as best as you can, follow me as best as you can, and you can always watch the video later as I try to upload it immediately, right after I'm done my lessons. It's just YouTube sometimes takes a while, and believe it or not, it does, flag each video, making sure it's appropriate and things like that. So by the time I upload it, sometimes it takes a little while. I don't do edits, so it's straight through as you see it. All right, now here comes the interesting part. We're going to use this rectangular marquee tool again. And because I avoided using artboards from the get-go, I was very adamant about using no artboards, just a canvas. I'm going to go ahead and select the top part of this design. I will call it the abstract design by simply grabbing, not here, but outside, because like it or not, it's going to grab everything that's inside anyways. So I'm just going to grab it right up to this point here. So I've selected the top half of my design right now. And what I'm going to do with this top half is I'm going to go to the image menu, and this is wherever you want to adjust images in Photoshop. This is the popular image menu. You have a layer menu, type menu, selection menu, filter menu. You got your plugins, windows, very similar things like Illustrator has. And I'm going to point all the right areas for you as I explain things. So under the image menu, we're going to go to adjustments, another popular area here. If I was to teach you this like, I don't know, 10 years ago, I would ask you to screen capture because I didn't record my lessons back then. I would just do them live and students would follow me and take notes and they would screen capture. So I would go here and go hue and saturation. I would say screen capture and the students would screen capture this because it's an important menu that you got to remember or write it down. Since I'm recording this, you don't have to screen capture, but I would still screen capture it while you're watching this video, just so you can remember that. The one I'm trying to allude to here is the invert. This inverts to the opposite. So if I hit invert, which is Command I or Control I on a PC, it'll just invert the colors to their opposites. So white becomes black, black becomes white, and blah, blah, blah. So if I press Command I back and forth, it does invert, 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 right? Like that. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing maybe now from the left side over to the right side. So I'm selecting the left half as opposed to the right half. I'm going to go right down the middle, somewhat in the middle like that. And I'm going to press invert again, Command or Control I, or just go to Image, Adjustments, and do the invert one more time. It's going to swap the colors for me again. Okay. Kind of like an interesting combination of colors here with some abstract design. Okay, not bad. Lastly, I'm going to make an elliptical selection tool just to kind of mesh it all together so it doesn't look too mechanical and pointy. I'm going to go and use the, maybe I'll apply a feather. Feather just softens the edges on a selection, guys. I've never tried actually this before on this particular exercise, so why not give it a go? I'm going to give it a 25 pixel feather, okay? And what that'll do is when I make the selection like this, holding shift, it'll just feather the edges a bit. Let me just show you what that does. So don't do this part, just watch. I'm going to press copy and paste, which is Command J. Just to show you what feather does, it made the edges, this is called a feather. It's like very smooth and soft. So basically I took a selection and I softened it. This is important, so I'm going to demonstrate it with and without so you understand what exactly feather does. I'm going to delete that layer. Notice how I made a layer when I did copy and paste. Every time you copy and paste something, it makes a separate layer in Photoshop, most times. This time I'll take off the feather to 0. Now, anti-alias gives you smooth edge anyway, so you don't have to feather things to get smooth edges. That's what anti-alias does. A lot of fonts on your system are anti-aliased, so they're smooth looking. If not, they'll be very jaggedy and pixely, like my abstract design here. So if I hold Shift Select, I do the same thing, copy, paste, copy, paste. This is usually what happens when you copy and paste a selection of a circle on another layer. It's smooth, but it's not feathered. See, it's just smooth edges. So that's what feathering does. I don't have to use feather. In the previous exercises I didn't, so this time I just want to, add some more fundamentals to the game. So I'm going to just add feathering here, 25. Just remember to reset it later because the feathering result will give you exactly that. It'll give you that feathered selection. If you don't want it, then don't feather it, right? I'm going to hold shift, select like that. I just go inside the selection and position it in the middle somewhere like this. How about if I want to expand my selection? I want to make it a little bigger. If I want to make it a little bigger, I'm going to go to select. I'm going to go to transform selection. This is a new command that was introduced maybe a decade ago, but it was new for me because we didn't have it back in the day. So transform the selection means you can take the selection and make it bigger or smaller. In case you're not that crafty with the mouse and you can't keep a steady hand, you can always, transform the selection afterwards. Okay. So then you press enter, and there's your, retransform selection. I'm trying to create a focal point here, which is the middle target of my abstract design with a feathered elliptical selection. Reason being, I want to go to the filter menu, and which teacher doesn't wow their students with filters the first day of Photoshop, right? So I'm going to do the same thing by going to filter. Filtering just gives you more effects with your images and colors and designs in Photoshop. A lot of them professionally used for blurring, sharpening, doing some more clever tactics. For this one, we'll do an actual fundamental distortion blur, which is under distort. Okay. And we're going to try any one of these, but the one that'll work best for this particular effect is the twirl, because it'll twirl all the colors like a painter's palette, and it'll mix them all up. The other ones will just give you those like spherize and shear and ripple. You can explore these ones. It's filters. It's all experimental. So I would just give you like an hour in class and say, go ahead and try everything. But I'm gonna get right to the um to the ones that make sense for this one, the relevant stuff. So I'm gonna go to twirl, and twirl will basically give you this other thumbnail, and you can zoom out. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna zoom out to 33% so I can see the whole thing. I can see this thumbnail mirror or reflect my twirl effect on the right. My slider angles on the bottom, which means every time I turn this way, or that way. This is what I'm going to be getting as a result. This is counterclockwise or clockwise. I'm going to go clockwise, not too much. I'm going to go maybe 360 degrees. I like that number. Okay, and this is the effect. If I click OK, that's the desired effect I'm going to get using the twirl filter. So let's go ahead and give it a try. And that's exactly what that is. And this is our original abstract design. It's like a fingerprint. Nobody in the world probably has this in their screen or documents because we totally did this from our creative imagination of steps. I bet yours doesn't look like mine either. If you have an identical design to me right now, we should play the same lottery numbers in the upcoming draw. Okay, that's the that's an astronomical way of kind of getting this hands on. It's almost next to impossible, so it's always unique. That's what makes these NFTs unique, and these cryptocurrencies and these codes and stuff they use that all have a unique identification. So this is, let's say, that one there. We're having some fun here, guys. We're gonna convert this into an NFT, and we're gonna save it as that. We're gonna go ahead and do a save as next. Okay, so we're gonna save as or save a copy. You can do either or. Let's do the fundamental save as. And the first thing you should save it as is a Photoshop file, because a Photoshop document retains all the information like layers, alpha channels, selections, and more important stuff. If you notice so far, everything was done on a flat canvas. There's no layers. I purposely kept this very simple just to exploit some of the fundamentals of Photoshop, like selections and colors and fills. Therefore, you can even save it as a JPEG right off the bat. You don't have to even save a Photoshop file. But for good measure and for good discipline practice, I like to do it properly. Always save the Photoshop file first. We're going to call this abstract design. Okay, and we're going to save it onto our desktop. I'm going to keep it as a Photoshop file. So always remember, save the Photoshop file first and foremost. And then once you do that, then you can save, because not everyone can open Photoshop files. As a matter of fact, very few people can open Photoshop files because to have Photoshop license on your computer costs money. Which people right now walking on the street or you meet your friends or whoever will pay a license fee for Photoshop unless they have use for it, right? So very, very, very small percentile of people in this world have Photoshop, to be honest. So the only way you can communicate your design with the rest of the world is to actually save it as like a JPEG or something that they can understand and open with, even like on Meta, like Facebook and stuff, Instagram. You can't put Photoshop files. You have to convert them into PNG or JPEGs. When you're making a website, same thing. You have to use JPEGs, PNGs, SVGs, or the new WebP format that Google has. So these are all converted formats to communicate with the rest of the public and other softwares. Okay, so let's communicate this to that level. We're going to go to File, Save As, or Save a Copy. You can do either or. Save a copy just gives you a copy or duplicate of the original format. So this now I can go to, look, large document, AVIF, bitmap, Photoshop APS, GIF, IFF. A lot of these formats are too redundant and not important unless they're specified. Somebody might give you instructions and say, I want a portable bitmap file or a PNG, okay, which is a portable network graphic file, or a TIFF, or look, a WebP. This is a new one. This one just got recently introduced by Photoshop because Google, I think, came up with it, and it's a new compressed version of a JPEG. And this one's like really, really, really amazing format, guys. It's very small in file size and pretty flexible with most applications. So let's give it a shot. Let's go to WebP. Let's see what it looks like. We're going to save as a WebP format on the desktop. Save. And the lossy or lossless. We're going to have a lossy, okay? Because if it's lossless, you don't get a slider. So this one loses compression every time you save it. It lose a little quality. So we'll go with lossless compression. Hit OK. And then we'll compare that to a JPEG. So let's do all three. Let's do save a copy. We'll do a JPEG the second time. So first I did the WebP. The next one will be a JPEG. Okay, so JPEG copy on the desktop, save. We're going to keep it also to a maximum format. Okay, so JPEG is also like a lossy format. So you're going to go to 12. You can control what quality you want. I'm going to go to 10, keep it maximum, hit OK. And last but not least, we're going to go to PNG format. All these are acceptable by web browsers and websites and social media platforms. So let's go ahead and do another. I don't even know WebP is acceptable by Meta. I never tried it before. There's your homework for the day. See if you can do a WebP ad in Facebook, if it's acceptable or not. As a matter of fact, let's Google it right now. Does Meta accept WebP format? Yes. So you can actually use a WebP format for images. Okay, pretty good. Now we know. I wasn't sure. So the next one we'll do is another popular one. I forgot to save a copy here. We're going to do PNG. So JPEG, PNG, WebP, GIF is the formats you need for like most of the stuff you're using this stuff for. GIF, I mean, websites and social medias and things like that. So GIF or GIF. Sorry, I didn't want to do GIF yet. Let's do PNG. We'll do a large size PNG. We can control the quality as well. And finally, we'll do one more just for the record. Might as well. We'll also do a GIF or a GIF. This is a graphic image format. It's a sequence of images that produce an animation. This one also can be used as a GIF. Now, the thing about GIF is, yes, it supports animations, but it's limited to 256 colors. So you're not going to get like high resolution images. Won't be good for this. This will pass because it's got less than 256 colors. So graphics, logos, simple images might work for this. but a lot of the high-end stuff, you don't see high resolution. You don't see your phone taking GIFs. Your mobile device that you take pictures with, whether it's 4K, 16K, whatever resolution depth, it's JPEGs, okay? Because the quality is as such. With GIFs, it's limited to 256, so it's very, very special format. And transparency, there's no transparency here, so I'm just going to turn it off, press OK, and there's my GIF. All right, so let's go ahead and compare as we dare here now on the other page here. I do have my other screen. We do have a GIF or a GIF. We do have a WebP format. We have a JPEG and we have a PNG and we have the original Photoshop format. I'm going to label that one blue just so we know this is our original and these are our mock-ups that we're going to distribute throughout the internet. Well, maybe you're doing a social media ad campaign or we're showing off our NFTs. We're selling NFTs, let's say, right? Somebody wants to buy this from you for like, I don't know, $100,000 or something ridiculous. Because the highest, here, let's watch this. What's the highest grossing NFT? Okay, these are the stupid things these guys make online. Look, this guy here, the most expensive NFT ever sold. This little graphic here somebody make sold for, I don't know, but you can see how these NFTs look, $69 million this thing sold for, okay? So let's go to all, for example. Yeah, so this one sold for $70 million, this NFT here. Actually this is a lot of work, more than a simple one. This is a collection of images and graphics all put together to a high resolution, and that sold for a lot of money. NFTs. Let me do plural here. So there's more NFTs here you guys can look at. All right, so these fun little characters that you see, these are the NFTs, okay? And some of them are pretty much characters, okay? Anyhow, I think if they have a look at this one here, they might be like, wow, this is a pretty cool NFT as well. Maybe put a little character, some eyeballs, a hat, who knows what can happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and see the size now, because the original Photoshop file is 220 kilobytes on disk. Pretty small, nothing to be concerned about. Okay, it's a quarter of a megabyte, because 1,000 kilobytes is like 1 megabyte, 1,024 to be exact. So 229K is about a quarter of a megabyte. And just to give you the proper metrics here, 1,000 megabytes is 1 gigabyte. 1,000 gigabytes is 1 terabyte. Okay, so that's how these metrics go. And then you have the
It's
gigabytes
actually
and the other one.
1024.
I'm sorry?
It's actually 1024.
I did say that, Alex. I'm just doing a round off, okay?
Okay. Okay.
It's 1,024 to be exact, yes. But I just like to say, I like to use the power of threes, like the three decimals. So 1,000 basically. The 24 is like minor, right? So 1,024, okay? 1,024, yeah, megabytes or 1,024, and then you have 100,000 and whatever. It goes by the three zeros. So this is a quarter, rough. Again, we're doing just an average comparison here. This is a quarter of a megabyte. 1 megabyte, that's it. All right, so now let's see WebP here. This is 53 kilobytes. This is even a fraction of the original Photoshop file. So WebP really stands the test to reduce file sizes. Now, why is this important? Because websites load faster. You use less bandwidth on your mobile apps and websites. You pay for data these days. You ever exceed your data on your mobile device, then you have to pay X amount of money for 100 gigs of data on your phone a month. Well, all this stuff eats up data on a website. So the more you minimize this, you're doing better justice for your clients, your visitors, and for your other things like Google SEO and things like that. So this is an important thing. These little things add up. So 53, okay? How big is the PNG? 102. So it's double than the WebP format. And the JPEG, 201. So it's less than Photoshop, but more than the other two. And the GIF or the GIF, 49K. It's pretty small because a GIF is limited to 256 colors. So that's why it gives you a small format. Now, if you compare all these, there's one, two, three, four. So they all look identical. This one looks like this. This one looks like that. I'm just going up and down. See? There's no real difference visually between all these four. And the choice I would go if I'm building a website and putting these, let's say I got to put 100 of these together in an image gallery. Okay, 100 times, 50K, right? It's like 5 megs. So definitely it'll be worth it than me multiplying the other numbers for the other formats. So WebP is the clear winner, guys, in this case. Honestly, it doesn't make a big difference. These are small sizes, but can you imagine if it was like a meg, 2 megs, 3 megabytes? Look at some of the images I was working with last night. Just to show you, these are fabrics for a product that we're using. So each of these fabrics that you pick to do your window coverings with, and that's the client that we're working with here, like window covering fabrics. Guess how big this fabric is? They wanted me to put this on a website. Look how big this fabric is. 35 megabytes. That's 35 million bytes. That's a lot. Okay. Compared to our graphic here that we did, it's 50,000 bytes. So 50,000 versus 35 million. Okay, see the difference? So 3 zeros. Okay, so what I had to do was take all these fabrics, compress them into a JPEG format, and each of them then came out to be 700 kilobytes as opposed to, 70 megabytes. So I reduced them by 90%, each of them. And I had to do one by one. They still look good, but boy, this was a lot of work. And I had to do an automation in Photoshop to do it all like that. But this is why this adds up, because if you go to a website that has, let me take you to the website now. Here we go here. Max Smart Window Fashions. This is a WordPress website we're putting together. So you can see some of these images that are already there, but the galleries is where this is at. Actually, let's go to the image gallery, photo gallery right here. You can see, these are the images here. There's 150 of these images. So if you click on them, they open up in Lightbox, okay? You can see them nicely, but imagine all these 150 images taking up that much space, it would crash the website. People don't know this, like to optimize images and stuff. It's up to you to do that. Otherwise, the client's just going to give you an images from their catalogs, and you have to put all these images together on a website. So you have to optimize all these so they match your certain criteria. Okay. So that's what happens when, you use images in Photoshop. You got to optimize them for their proper use. All right. So now after you do this, what I want you to do is take the WebP format. I'm going to put these into a folder. And upload it on the on our digital NFT abstract design um, discussion topic. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and respond here. So you do the same thing. I encourage you to do this. Maybe do it by Wednesday. So when I see you in the lab, I want to make sure everyone understands this part of the lesson before we move forward. I'm going to go ahead and add an attachment. I'm going to go to my desktop, select my abstract design, and load up the WebP format. That's the clear winner, guys. I'm going to go ahead and save it as that and post it. And if the WebP doesn't give me a preview, do me a favor, don't use that for this. I just didn't realize it won't preview. So don't do WebP. I guess it's still too new for Blackboard, guys, believe it or not. Blackboard's not up to date. So I'm going to upload. So let me just take this back for now. Upload the PNG instead. PNG or JPEG. Pick, I don't care which one, actually. As long as it's an understandable web format, you can do all the ones that are I demonstrated. I'm gonna go with let's just go with the PNG. Here we go. View and download. Yeah, see this didn't come up when I did it. So do a PNG or a JPEG, please. It should show up like this, okay? Post. There we go. So cancel this WebP for now. Use it for your own stuff. I mean, eventually Blackboard will able to understand it. I just can't see it. I gotta open it, download it, save it. I don't want to do all that work. So just make it easy for me to look at this way. So just upload it as I'll repeat it again, PNG or a JPEG. So don't keep the WebP as your secret weapon for building websites, okay, or something like that. For this, just use the standard, good old traditional um, JPEG or PNG. Look how different this one is than the other one. See, it's always different depending on the level of detail and the methods you demonstrate. It varies from time to time. So when I see you upload yours, it's nice to see everybody participate in this NFT abstract design challenge. It's under your Photoshop module today, class number 8. So by Wednesday, please have this up and loaded so we can all have a look at it. All right, now, um, speaking of Wednesday, because I do want to give you yeah, a nice head start in this segment of Photoshop. What I'm going to start with is this lesson folder here. Okay, so we're going to start with this on Wednesday. We're going to do this in class. So make sure you're ready. You show up, have your coffee, your breakfast, and you're ready to go. This is the demonstrations. We're going to learn this step by step. And then by next week, we're going to do the other three. So we're going to cover this one, this one, and this one. We're going to make a social media ad out of this one here. We're going to put this together. Okay. But this is the main one that we're going to cover Wednesday. Okay. So just to give you a head start, maybe we're going to open this up and we're going to put this whole thing together. Now, I've already demonstrated the simple basic selection methods and paint methods in Photoshop. We covered the basic formats from Photoshop to WebP, JPEG, PNG, what the difference is, and how important and crucial it is to optimize. I showed you an example of a website that I worked on recently and how crucial image file sizes are because they add up, to the numbers. So now this one will demonstrate the more advanced selection methods. So from basic to advanced, or intermediate, I should say, not advanced, it's intermediate advanced. We're going to learn how to put this whole thing together using the selection methods such as the elliptical marquee, which is this one. We're going to do the lasso, which is this one. This one we're going to go ahead and do custom selection marquee like that, right? We're going to use more elliptical tool for this. The magnetic lasso for that one. The magnetic lasso is right here. All under lasso, they're all there. We're going to use the polygonal and the magnetic in combination, okay? This one sticks to the edges. You go click, click, right? So the whole purpose is to put this whole thing together, extract it, and dress up this melon head like Mr. Potato Head. If you guys know who Mr. Potato Head is, it's this thing right here. I used to do the Mr. Potato Head back in the day. We would dress this whole thing up using the Mr. Potato Head parts, but it got boring after a while. So instead of putting a Mr. Potato Head together, I mean, we could do that. This one kind of packs the same thing, except it's a little healthier than a potato. If you're not into the health kick, okay? Fruits and vegetables is we decided to take the health kick going forward. Also, I like the fact that this comes with an actual handout, so it's a nice way to follow. Like open the part, look, start, head, select the rectangular marquee tool, draw a rectangle around the melon, and Command J, which is the new copy and paste method we're going to learn. Then we're going to do the mouth, then the eyes, right? Then we're going to learn how to do the nose, the bow tie, and the ears. So Wednesday, we're going to do this in the lab when we do the class together, okay? So stay tuned for that one. I just want to wrap it up with this existing exercise by doing something pretty cool with, always want to leave you guys with a cool little tip or method um, so you can remember it. So what I'm going to do is, now that I demonstrated how I did this, I'm going to go to the window and show you how history panel looks like. This is called the history. It's like doing undo, 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 undo. So if I go back in time, you can see all the steps that were used to make this happen. I can go back to when I first started the file. It's like going back in a time machine. Here's the thing. This only exists while this document is open. When I close this document, doesn't matter if I save it or not, this is gone. So this doesn't you can't bring this with you basically. Okay, it's gone. This is your consciousness, your RAM, random access memory. It's only there while the document exists. Now you can take a snapshot and save certain presets of it, but it only works with the document being open. Okay. Um, right. So why am I showing you this? It's because you can actually go back in time and you can edit these, I guess, whatever creatives you want at any given, we can go back in time and do some edits and then continue from this point onwards and just continue editing your document. That's what you can do with this. Okay. So just again to demonstrate what happens to this when it's gone. If I close this document, okay, and if I sure I'll save it again. Okay, so it's gone now. So as soon as you open the document the second time, let's open in Photoshop. Oh, let's open it from Photoshop here. Open WebP. See, the history is gone. Okay, so you can't really use the history panel. It's meant to be that way while you're working on something to go back and forth because you make mistakes. But once the document is saved and it's gone, you can't really access it afterwards. Okay, so that's what happens to that one. All right. So be ready for the Wednesday lab. We're going to have the selections folder here, have it downloaded. Okay. We're going to start with this melon head exercise, like I mentioned earlier. This one is the one we're going to use for the Facebook ad. So when you create like the meta ad, let's call it a meta ad because Facebook is meta. You can use it for Instagram. You can use it for Facebook or other social media channels. We're going to convert this into an ad. You can pick a motorcycle brand like Yamaha or Honda or Kawasaki, and we're going to make an actual motorcycle face meta ad. Okay, so this is going to teach us a lot of the other techniques here. And then we have the this one is an added bonus exercise, not really that important or integral to this, but it's good to know because you're going to learn how alpha channels work. And alpha channels is a more advanced form method of saving selections. So this is kind of cool how you can incorporate these techniques here. Okay. And this is how, once you learn all these techniques in the next few weeks, you should be able to assemble this back together. So all the skills I'm going to teach you in Photoshop, you'll be able to create or recreate evidence that's been destroyed. Like the police does this kind of stuff, the government, they reconstruct destroyed evidence, some detective work you're going to be doing. Okay. So you're going to learn how to put this image back together in Photoshop using all the techniques I'm going to teach you, using various methods. So you're gonna use quick masking, selections, all kinds of stuff. Okay, put this back together. All right. We have a little bit of time, so I wanna just maybe we'll get a head start on this guy, or we can actually jump into. Let's jump into this one. This is a nice bonus exercise. I'm gonna color it yellow. So let's demonstrate this one because I don't want to waste time on this on Wednesday. I'd rather get to the important stuff. So I'm gonna open this one and show you what this is. This is called content aware scale. This new method was introduced years ago in Photoshop in the early 2020s. And what that let you do is basically, I'm gonna open this in Photoshop by double clicking on it. It lets you resize images without distorting the photos. This is called without help. Just watch me do that. You don't have to follow me in this one. Just watch and observe and learn. So if I press edit your typical free transform is how you can resize things in Photoshop, like scale. So if I do free transform and I do this, let's say I want to resize the picture to match this frame here. These are guides, okay? Notice what happens to the photo. It gets distorted, right? So you don't want to distort the photo because it doesn't look professional. So this is a no-no, right? So I'm going to press escape. Photoshop invented a method under the edit menu called content aware scale. It's before ChatGPT even was released. Photoshop always had AI built into its algorithm to do very clever things with images. So this was right before the ChatGPT era. But mind you, now with that, having said all that, we are going to explore some of the image generating AI stuff in Photoshop as well. That's quite well equipped to do that as well. So let's do content aware scale now. Watch what happens. Notice how the image resizes, but the people in the image don't get distorted. So everybody stays intact. So that's the AI capability of distorting images in Photoshop, altering backgrounds, not affecting people. Now, nothing's perfect. So what I created by doing that is I created a tsunami in the background. First of all, if you notice the image did get distorted, maybe you can get away with that. But also things like this happen. The hand and stuff gets kind of blipped out, right? So it doesn't come out properly. Again, there's another little mark over here that didn't help, okay? So a lot of flaws happened when this was done, okay? So I'm going to show you ways to prevent that from happening, how to perfect this method, okay? So I'm going to press Command Z. Here's the other example here with help. Let's try the same thing on this. If I do Command T is a shortcut to transform, by the way. So if I do this, right, that's what happens. So obviously that's a no-no. Rather than going to edit um, content aware scale, what do you think is going to happen? Will it do the same thing as the first image? Believe it or not, that wasn't accomplishable. It's the level of detail in this background. Maybe it was the colors, the contrast. Photoshop wasn't able to recognize, let's call them teenagers, in accordance with the background to do the clever thing we did with this image. So sometimes you need help, sometimes you don't need help. So the reason why it says with help, I'm going to press Command Z. The reason why it says is with help, it's because Photoshop, besides layers, there's something called channels. And this particular file came equipped with an alpha channel called scale. What scale does is creates selections out of those white silhouette opposite things that you see. So the white represents the teenagers, the black is the background. By you creating an alpha channel selection here, by the way, I'll teach you how to make one of these. This didn't exist, by the way. Like if this wasn't here, okay, then you wouldn't be able to do the next part. So this is kind of teaching you how this is helpful. But don't assume automatically images come with this. You have to make this. Okay, this wasn't just magically popped up here. It was created for the clear reason to do the demo, to demonstrate. So we're gonna go back to RGB. Okay, back to layers. This time I'm gonna go to content aware scale. Okay, and up here protect scale. This reflects the name of the alpha channel called scale. I'm just going to press escape. Let's say if I was to rename this teenagers or teens, okay? Just to show you it's not a term or technical stuff. That's because people think scale and they relate it to a scale attribute in the software. So if I go again, edit a content aware scale, right? And I go protect teens, because teens is the same alpha channel that I made to protect that area so it doesn't distort basically. So if I protect the teens so they don't distort while I do this, That's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, so that's why the intelligence of the program using alpha channels or advanced selections prevents you from destroying things that you don't want to. So this is the level of Photoshop I want to show you. This is a little more advanced, but I wanted to show you the capabilities and not just, doing creative montages and things, but technical things Photoshop's able to do. And this is a big thing because you want to be able to do this with images. So you're saying, okay, well, this is all fine and everything, but how do I make that alpha channel? How do I make it work the way you showed us how to do it? So what I'm going to do is demonstrate on this image the same tactic we used here. I'm going to make another one for this example because you remember when I did it, her hand got distorted and this other hand got distorted. So let's go ahead and protect those areas of interest. Okay. So to do that, okay, I'm gonna go use the good old lasso tool. I'm gonna go to the quick mask, but so the lasso tool basically makes me make selections. So with the free form, so I hope you have a steady mouse. This was the hand that got destroyed, so I'm gonna go just make a selection close to the proximity of the pixels. So basically, I'm doing a selection like this. So I just selected that part of the arm. So I will protect it not to be destroyed. Now, in theory, you should do a selection of all the people using a more methodical choice, like quick masking and things like that. I'm gonna get into another time. But for now, let's just find the problem areas, which was the arm. I believe this was another one. So I'm gonna hold Shift. See Shift, the plus button came up. I'm gonna also add her arm as well. So I'm gonna have two arms selected so I don't distort those areas when I do my special selection tool here. Now, the next thing is to make that the same way, this alpha channel was made, the way you make an alpha channel in Photoshop. And believe me, alpha channels came out before my time. When layers didn't even exist in Photoshop, they used what's called alpha channels. We would very carefully and methodically copy. Have you ever done like a collage with scissors in magazines? You would cut out pieces of paper and you would glue them on top of another. You would make a nice collage out of physical paper by cutting things with scissors and glue. Well, if you make a mistake doing that, you're stuck. You can't undo it. So that's what Photoshop used to be like using this method. Then layers came out and it's more forgiving because you can delete, edit, take away, move on top, move in the back, send to back, bring to front, stuff we did in Illustrator. Very similar you can do in Photoshop with layers. But without layers, before layers was this. So this is still fundamentally powerful and useful today. By going to select, you're saving the selection. Can be more than one selection, could be multiple, but it still counts as a selection. So when I save the selection, we're going to call this arms. Arms, whatever name you want to give it is fine. This will be creating a new channel in this document, and we're going to save this as arms. We're going to click OK. And then we're going to go ahead and deselect by clicking anywhere just to deselect it. By the way, to deselect is under select, deselect. To deselect a selection is just as important as selecting a selection. So make sure you make a conscious decision or a conscious effort to always keep an eye on your document and making sure there's a selection or not a selection. Okay, not a Shakespeare line here. To have a selection or not to have a selection, right? All right, so if I go to channels now, what happens is there's the teens and there's the arms. See, that's what a saved selection looks like. So somebody went here and did the same thing, but they pretty much selected all the teens very, very accurately and saved that as that. And this is that. What you do when you come here, please click on this area. What I don't want you to do is start clicking on this little eyeballs and do all kinds of funky stuff like this. If you do that, it's gonna kind of this looks cool, but doesn't really do anything. It just messes up the program. So when you come here now, you got like what's going on here. So to reset this, do me a favor, just click on this RGB main channel because channels are made of colors. So there's red, green, blue, or the RGB composite, and then there's the alpha channels, the special selections that we save. So I just saved the arms here. I'm just showing you this. I'm not doing anything here. Like I don't even have to go here. I could have just went ahead with my methods, okay? So I just did this to show you what happened when I saved the alpha channel arms. So let's reset it, go back to RGB, go back to layers. So now we know what's happening. So when I go to edit, remember if I do content aware scale, remember what happens, right? Remember what happens? Oh, I already, my apologies. I already did because I did the protection already. I'm gonna do it again. Content aware scale. So you protect the teens. It was already on. So let's go to none. Pretend this wasn't on. I left it on by accident. So let's say pretend we don't have any protection there. We press enter. Here's what happens. Remember, the arm gets messed up, her arm gets clipped. So that's what happens if we don't protect those areas of interest. Okay, so I'm going to press Command Z. Now that we did this, I go back again and do content aware scale, and I go protect. Remember, the teens was the example I showed you earlier. For this one, it was the arms. So I clearly selected the arms of the two ladies, one on the looks like the bride to be, and the other one, we'll call it the maid of honor. So we're gonna protect the arms. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do this again from here to there. We're gonna press enter. Okay, we're gonna go with the hand tool and zoom in. And believe it or not, the arm now is perfectly fine. No problems happening. See, as a matter of fact, the whole image looks okay now. If I find any more problem areas, I will address them. But for now, everything looks good, and I was able to do my magical, you know, transform content aware by protect. Now, it might work depending on if you have like a simple background, it'll probably work without this uh, advanced stuff I'm showing you. But if it doesn't, you have to aid it with the help of alpha channels to make it work. And that's what Photoshop. I want to give you a nice overview of its capabilities, not just to think of Photoshop as a digital, imaging tool, but color correcting images and cropping images and things like that. But something more fundamental with things you can do with images, resizing, cropping, trimming, all kinds of stuff. And I hope with its built-in AI capabilities now, it's more powerful than ever. Okay, so this is something we don't have to do. I just wanted to demonstrate its capabilities, and now what we have left is the other exercises. I'm gonna just save this one for the sake of saving it. When I see you on Wednesday, we're gonna go ahead and jump onto this one. This is the one I want to do together with you in person. This is why I'm saving this one in class. And then when we do that, we'll jump on the Facebook ad the following week. We'll do that one. All right, so that wraps up this recording in this class. We packed a lot of information for the first, day for the module in Photoshop. So I'm glad that went well. I'm going to stop my recording now and get rid of these Mr. Potato Heads here. I'm just going to quickly go here and do the stop the recording. All right, so thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you Wednesday in the lab portion of the class. Okay, bye for now, and have yourself a great week. Bye for now.
Bye.